Hey guys, this is Karen from Curl House, and today I'm going to talk to you about traction alopecia. I am pulling this video from a Facebook Live, so in the video you may notice me answering a few questions, but it is from a Facebook Live, but I thought it was very good information, so I absolutely wanted my YouTube community to hear about traction alopecia as well. So make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and turn on your notifications. Let me ask y'all something. Has anyone ever told you about your hair, about your hairstyles, if it ain't tight, it ain't right, and you gotta lay those edges down? Do y'all hear that? Okay, well, what I'm seeing is more and more women are starting to lose their hairline as a result of hairstyles. So when you're wearing hairstyles that are super, super tight, like braids, for example, sew-ins, natural hairstyles like braided styles, whether or not you are getting it with or without weave, or the new thing, particularly in the natural hair world, is protective styles. That's the buzzwords. Everybody wants a protective style. A protective style is really a style that protects the ends of your hair from breaking. So for example, like braids with or without weave, sew-ins, for example, people will cornrow their hair and put on a wig, anything that a style that you don't have to do. So once it's done, once the hairstyle is styled, it's done. You don't have to do anything to it. So braids being number one, or again, crochet braids, loose braids, even braided natural styles, twisted styles, any style that is the hair is completely twisted or tucked away so the ends are covered. Those are protective styles. But what I'm noticing is that a lot of protective styles are leading to hair loss. So my question to you is, what are you protecting? Or are you protecting your hair if that hairstyle is causing your hair to come out? Hey guys, hey Tasha, thank you for checking in. Hey Lachelle, thank you for checking in. So if that style is causing your hair to come out, what are you protecting? It's leading to hair loss. So what happens with traction alopecia? Again, that is the type of hair loss I want to talk to you all about. Traction alopecia, alopecia meaning hair loss, okay? So I'm going to use that word interchangeably. Alopecia just means hair loss. That's it. So traction alopecia is the type of alopecia you get from wearing hairstyles that are too tight. So hairstyles that are pulling on your edges, pulling on your hair. It can be a tight ponytail. If you're natural, it can be a tight afro puff, pulling on your edges. It can be tight braids. It can be those cornrows, those lemonade braids that y'all like to wear. All of those hairstyles, they're pulling on your edges, and they may lead to hair loss. Now, I'm not saying that you can't rock these styles. I'm not saying that at all. You can wear protective styles, or you can definitely wear hairstyles, braided styles or protective styles. But the key is, when you get your hair done, does your scalp feel sore? Do you have bumps? Is there inflammation? Do you have to take Tylenol because your head is throbbing so much that you can't even sleep because the braids are so tight? That is an indication that you may have traction alopecia. And traction alopecia is something that happens gradually. So when you get your tight braids, I know some people will get, for example, a sew-in. They'll get a sew-in and it's tight, but then I'll hear them say, well, in a couple of days, it'll loosen up and it will be okay. Well, unfortunately, sometimes the damage is already done. Just because the style loosens up over time, that doesn't mean that eventually it's not going to lead to hair loss. So that's why, ladies, I encourage you, when you rock your natural hairstyles, your natural hairstyles, your braided styles with or without braids, be mindful of your hairline. Be mindful if those braids are pulling on your edges, because that is going to eventually lead to hair loss. And it just crushes my heart because I see it so often. This is the type of hair loss that we can actually prevent. Now, there are numerous types of hair loss disorders that may be genetic, that may come from medication, that may come from underlying causes, but this is not the type of hair loss like that. This is the one that's actually very much preventable. It's the one that, it's the hairstyle. It's because of the hairstyles you're wearing, you're causing your hair to come out. And I know how damaging that can be when your hair starts coming out. I know how devastating it is. That's why I'm encouraging you to be really mindful of protective styles and wearing them in moderation. I know the wintertime is coming up. For the natural hair world, a lot of women wear protective styles over the wintertime, which is fine, which is cool. You can do that, but you have to do it in moderation. So what I mean is that if you decide to get Senegalese twists, for example, you get your hair braided, fine. You keep your braids in for 6 to 8 weeks, no problem. You take them out. Don't immediately go back into braids again. You're not giving your hair or your, more particularly your hairline, a break from all of the tension from the braids. So if you're thinking about, oh, excuse me, sorry guys. All right, I moved the camera. All right, let me go back. So if you're thinking about the hair follicle, let's just talk about braids, for example. Your hair follicle, if you look at a hair follicle under a scope, so the hair follicle meaning the little hole that the hair strand actually comes out of, typically you can have 1, 2, or even 3 hair strands coming out of that one hair follicle. That one hair follicle was designed to hold the 1, 2, or 3 hair strands that comes out of that one hair follicle. So if you look behind me, that's what I mean. That's your hair follicle. So that follicle was designed to hold 1, 2, or 3 strands of hair. When you're adding hair, like for example, braids with extensions, you are adding a considerable amount of hair, much more hair than the hair follicle was designed to hold. Does that make sense? So if your follicle was only designed to hold 1 to 3 strands of hair, of your hair, but then you're adding a ton of additional hair, over time that's going to create weight on the hair follicle. It's going to weaken the hair follicle. It's going to cause the hair to come out. Now, when it comes out, usually it is temporary. But if you continue to wear hairstyles that puts tension on your hair follicle and your hairline, that may lead to permanent hair loss. It may lead to scarring and to permanent hair loss. And that is why it is important for you to wear protective styles, braided styles, styles which create tension or weight on your hair in moderation. So over the winter time, when you're getting your sew-in to give your hair a break from combing and styling, which is fine, you have to make sure that you don't do it back to back. Give your hair a break. If your hair is in braids, if your hair is not out, if your hair is not loose, you can't take care of your hair anyway. You can't cleanse your hair, you can't cleanse your scalp, you can't moisturize your hair. So if you do that for back to back, then eventually even your hair is going to suffer, because you're not going to be able to maintain the health of your hair or your scalp. So that is why it is important that you wear protective styles, braids, wigs in moderation. Even when you're wearing a wig can also create traction alopecia. Even if your hair is cornrow, which is what I recommend. If you're gonna rock a wig, cornrow your hair and put on a cap and then put your wig on. You can even get traction alopecia by the wig repeatedly sitting on your hairline. Even some people who have to wear hats to work, like for example every day, they'll notice their hairline is thinning too, not just here but all around. Now if you have to wear it for work, then that's different. You don't have a choice, but wearing a wig usually is an option. So if you're rocking your wig, rock your wig when you're out in public, but take it off as soon as you get home. So from time to time I also will wear a wig, and as soon as I get home I snatch that thing off and throw it on the steps. Like as soon as I walk through the door, I snatch it off. So take it off. Give your hairline a break. And when you're wearing a wig, you can wear a wig for a month or 2, but in general, give it a break. So the goal is to give your hair a break. That is how you avert getting traction alopecia in general. But even some people get that one bad braid job, just one bad braid job, and they take those braids out and hairline is gone. If that happens, usually the hair will regrow back if you don't turn around and put the braids back in. And again, that's the problem. When you turn around and put it back in, that's when your hairline is going to get weaker and weaker. That follicle is going to get weaker and weaker. That inflammation is going to continue to rise, and that's what's going to cause your hair to come out. And so you don't want traction alopecia to be permanent. Traction alopecia is reversible. You can restore your hair. It's temporary if you discontinue doing the thing that's causing the traction alopecia.